Rhema Gospel Radio Incorporated, KOER LP-FM, its affiliates, and or the staff and volunteers of these entities. Please direct all correspondence to the appropriate company's website and or business address. Welcome to the Parenting Connections radio broadcast with Dr. Tyra Hodge. Dr. Hodge is an author, speaker, the founder and president of Parenting Connections, whose mission is to strengthen families. She has been an educator for over 15 years, and Parenting Connections is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Now, let's join Dr. Tyra Hodge for today's radio broadcast.
Hey, happy Tuesday, everybody. Happy Tuesday. You know, this is my favorite day of the week because I get to be here with you talking about anything and everything. Today, I have a very special show for you. I have on the line with us right now, Evangelist Alveda King. Hello, Dr. King. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Dr. Hodge. How are you? And hello to all your listeners as well.
I'm so glad you're here. I have so many questions and I have this short time with you. Dr. King is she is an activist. She is the niece of the greatest civil rights leader ever, Dr. Martin Luther King. In her latest journal, Dr. King responds to the question, why Trump, with her personal photos and private recollections. Dr. King, I want to talk about whatever you want to talk about today, Evangelist. And so I've been following you for 2 years. Welcome to the show. Please tell us something, anything, everything.
Well, it's so great to talk to you. I want to encourage people. I've lost some loved ones recently. Not everyone to COVID, but some to COVID and different types of things. And of course, that was very hurtful. Of course, the street riots are hurtful. These elections seem to be confusing to some folks. So I would really like to say, fear God and let the peace of God overtake you. This is a season where things can be troubling. But if we would just allow ourselves to seek the Lord and have God calm our souls. I lost someone very, very close to me last few hours.
Sorry.
Jackson Jr. A week ago, before that, we buried our cousin, Reverend Tucson Hill, for example. Dear friend Herman Kane passed away from COVID. So these experiences have been very shocking to my soul. And so I have turned to God and asked God to lift me up so that I would have the heart to encourage others. So I want to say, please be encouraged. And honestly, to goodness, I'm serious. Seek the Lord for comfort and peace and actually for understanding.
Yes, yes. You know, thinking about you've seen a lot. I'm going to say that you probably got to see your uncle in action a little bit, but you're an activist yourself. When I found you, I feel like I found you a little late, but I've been following you faithfully for the last 2 years. But you've earned the favor of President Trump. You are in this Priest for Life where you are not just saving Black babies, but you're saving communities, and you know you're a savior and a helper to the unborn. And so I'm not going to all that today because there's so much going on out there. And you said that you lost people in the first, I have Michelle Gamboa on the line with us too. She's an Latina activist out in Texas, but you've seen so much, and you said disheartening. You just mentioned losing friends. Was it to COVID?
It was. Herman Kane passed away from COVID. It's our understanding that Bishop Jackson, they had had COVID as well, but they had secondary or pre-existing conditions. So those things do affect you as well with COVID. So I just want to say that we just still need to be encouraged to love everyone. And, we have the holidays coming up, Thanksgiving and Christmas. And it won't do to have that season in upheaval. That's not God's best for us. As far as the abortions themselves, as a young woman, I had 2 abortions and a miscarriage in the 1970s. And of course, that was devastating. My grandfather rescued me, Martin Luther King Sr., from abortion in 1950, convinced my mother to birth me.
Wow. I'm sorry.
My parents got married and had 5 children. I was pro-choice for a while until I was born again in 1983. And I repented. And of course, became a voice for life. And that's what people are familiar with today. I was also a civil rights activist myself and a youth organizer in the 1960s. I was born in 1950, became a teenager in the 60s, and I was a youth organizer. My dad, Reverend A.D. King, Martin Luther King's brother, worked very closely with his brother and others. So that's kind of my history.
Dr. King, I
have no condemnation in Christ because I had 2 abortions myself. So it's amazing to hear you say that, because when we look at you, we see this great activist, this woman that has just triumphed in the streets and that has stood her ground, that is, marched for people, and you're out there saving lives and evangelizing. So what do you say to somebody that feels like abortion was the only answer for them?
At the time, I could understand why people would feel as though that were the case. I lived long enough to understand that even being the mother of 6 living children and had 2 abortions and a miscarriage, having the children did not prevent anything in my life. And I had some hard times. I've had some good times. So there should always be an alternative to making our lives better than taking the life of someone else. Even if we're raped, in the instance of rape, and a lot of people don't know this, I've been raped twice in my life. I did not conceive with either of those outcomes, but it was very tragic. And it's my understanding that women who are raped and conceive, they have 2 injuries to deal with. One is the rape itself, and then the death of the child within their body. And so that adds more trauma, more pain, more confusion. And often when people are raped, if the child is allowed to be born and you get the DNA test, you find out who did the rape as well. So there's just so many things like that. If there's an anomaly with the baby, and that's how easily less than 1% of pregnancies end up with something that is so frightening that's going to be so harmful to the child. Also, the health of the mother is less than 1%. So a life is very precious. That's something that comes from God. I had to learn that when Christ, by the blood of Jesus, forgave me of my sins. Heavenly Father accepted me, and Holy Spirit became my teacher. So all these years later, people say, well, you're being unfair, and you had abortions, and now you want to not let me get one? I was like, but that wasn't a prize. That wasn't a victory. It hurt me. It killed the babies.
Right. Yes.
So just our perspective,
Right.
I do have a book called Why Trump. I have another one with Ginger Howard, We're Not Colorblind. It all started with an apple dealing with human sexuality. So I'm at alvedaking.com and also civilrightsfortheunborn.org. And you can find out so many things about me there.
Oh, thank you so much. And I was sitting there looking at all the different books. And so out of all the books that you've written, what is your favorite?
Every time I write a book.
Okay, because it's new and it's on your heart. So where do you get your...
Wait, let me say King Rules, maybe King Rules, because it's about my family and all of that.
Okay.
So maybe King.
So all those links are going to be in the description to her books. There's already a link right there. If you're watching live, there's already links in there for her books. So let's make sure that we're supporting her and everything that she does. Dr. King, I know you said you could only be with us for a little bit, but where do you get your inspiration?
Really from God and from others, people who love the Lord. And because I believe it or not, somebody asked me today, what haven't you done? Because God blessed me with many gifts and abilities. I just asked, I said, give me everything that you do, you know? But I can also just kind of go out and look at the sky and all of its beauty, or I can listen to birds, or when the leaves are falling off the trees, I know they'll be back unless the whole earth is taken. And so I just, by the glory of God and the goodness of God and things that I see, and in people sometimes, just people inspire me. Many people inspire me. I'm inspired by you and your radio show. You know?
Thank you. Thank you. It's awesome. This is a wonderful honor to have you here. I have one more important question that I just want to know. What do you feel is dividing our country right now? I know that's like the tip of our tongue, and we can't get the thoughts that are things that are going on in the streets and in the media. I finally just had to turn off the media and say no more. I've gotten rid of cable because I just can't watch no more. What do you feel like?
And you see, you have to be very selective with what you let into your eyes, your ears, your heart, you know, what you let come out of your mouth, that kind of thing. That is very important. So I just say that we're in trouble sometimes, and the only answer, we started out the show with this, is come go to God and be inspired and lift it up and heal, and God will actually do that for us.
Okay. Dr. King, thank you so much. Evangelist Alveda King with us today. Is there anything else you want to leave us with?
I don't think so, but I really appreciate this opportunity. God bless everybody.
Thank you so much, and have a wonderful afternoon. And it was most definitely an honor.
Amen. Same here. All right.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Y'all, that was truly, truly an honor to have Evangelist Alveda King with us. And now, thank you, Michelle, for just hanging on. We got Miss Michelle Gamboa on the line. Let me make sure. I had you muted because I was hearing a lot of feedback. Hey, how are you doing, girlfriend?
I'm good. How are you, Tyra? So nice to be with you today.
I'm good. I just kind of feel all mellow now that I've gotten to have this moment with Dr. King. So,
that was so powerful. Thank you for letting me be on with you. I was over here it was the greatest opportunity to be able to hear it from her mouth directly. You know how God moves her spirit and her soul to be a giver as opposed to a taker. So that was amazing.
Yes. And so, I wanted to value the time. I wanted to be greedy, but I wanted to value her time as well, since she made, time to be with us. But you and I have 41 minutes to cover. So let's do our thing. So let me tell you how first, I think it's important. Let me tell you how, Michelle and I met. Let's get her name showing there. Okay, so I don't know why I can't get it under you like I'm supposed to. I really need to go through Restream class. So I have Michelle Gamboa with us today. And so I went on an interview, I don't know, it was about 3 years ago. Was it that long ago, or maybe 2 years ago?
Like 2.5 years ago.
Well, she interviewed me to work on the Abbott campaign. And so, not that I'm out there politicizing or whatever, but I believe that we should support our people that are in office, and not just to keep a close eye on them. If anything, we've learned this in this week is that we need to keep an eye on folks. And so Michelle actually interviewed me, and so after that we became friends. And so I ended up doing some volunteer work for the Abbott campaign, and so we became friends, and she has lots and lots of connections. And so I guess it just kind of went on there from there. When I got my big old pardon from the governor, she was the first person to let me know. And so, but anyway, Michelle, tell us something.
Well, Tyra, I remember walking into that room and being so impressed by you because you were ready. You had all these questions. I was like, oh, snap, crackle, pop. Who am I talking to? This lady is prepared. But immediately, right away, I could tell just your heart and your passion for the community, for others, and for just giving back. I'm really glad that God connected us. More importantly, I think the world is so small and we often forget that. So I'm just so excited to be here with you today on your show, talking about parenting and pro-life issues and just issues that should matter to all of us as human beings, as females, as just people in general, as males. If you're listening out there, for everybody listening, because dads are awesome too. So I'm just so excited to be here with such a hardworking woman. I knew you were going to do great things, my lady. I knew it.
Some of those great things we're going to do together. And so so let's talk about everything that you've been doing. You helped head up a Latino commission, conservative task force, if you will, for getting people to vote. Is that correct? Or tell me about some of the things that you've been up to, because you do so much.
Well, so when I was little, my parents told me it was a sin to be idle. So I think I took that too seriously. So I've definitely always believed in the verses where it talks about, work diligently as if unto God rather than to man. And so I graduated from Texas A&M, and I got my political science degree, got a minor in psychology. I had the privilege of studying abroad and getting to have meetings with the European Council and the European Union and different, embassies over there, and just seeing how our governmental system compares to that of other nations. So that really got me interested. And then I was an intern for Senator Brian Hughes. So I would literally drive down every weekend from College Station to knock on doors and make phone calls. I would make phone calls on campus, and then I would come home and knock doors every other weekend to get out the vote for him, because I remember how he impacted my life, and taking me to Chick-fil-A, meeting with me. One of my dad's friends called him and goes, hey, I know this girl from church. She's an immigrant from Mexico. She really wants to learn about our government system, and she just thinks that everything's kind of like in Mexico and that elected officials are unreachable. However, they are not. They're supposed to be public servants. They're supposed to be available. So Senator Hughes made some time to meet with me at Chick-fil-A, asked me all these questions about what issues mattered to me and why I want to get involved and things like that. And I don't ever recall being called those kinds of questions. So I remember having a passion for it. And I was studying it at A&M. After that, I worked for Governor Abbott. I was on the Republican Leadership Initiative. I graduated from that, became an intern, then a fellow, then a field organizer for Governor Abbott. Then I became a regional director and oversaw a couple of regions with numerous staff, which is where I had the privilege of interviewing you for Montgomery County. After really contemplating and asking God where he wanted to move in my life, I decided that Hispanic engagement was where I wanted to focus, because I remember being kind of embarrassed to ask questions growing up, because I remember, moving to the United States at first. Of course, people have grown and they're great people now, but when I first moved here, people didn't know that much about Hispanics. A few people were shied off. And so I always wanted to pretend and see that I was great and I knew everything, right? And so I was scared to ask questions. But now that I'm part of the outreaching to the Hispanic community, I see such a need in people wanting to questions answered, but then being too embarrassed to ask. So I joined the Texas Latino GOP PAC. That's now the Texas Latino Conservatives PAC. Great organization. You should look into them. And they do outreach for Latinos. And so we were working on voter engagement, reaching Latinos not only through voter contact technology, but also through media messages. Latinos are fed one message all the time, when in reality, as people, whether we're left, right, green, whatever you are, we should have information presented to us objectively. And we as human beings should have the freedom to choose for ourselves, rather than being pushed these agendas that keep getting pushed to us on both sides. So And that's what
Well,
so
that's
now
what a lot's going on right now. And one of the things, and I didn't want to get political, but sometimes I can't help it. But, we're getting one agenda and we're not getting the other side of stories. And I think that's taken away a person's rights. That's taken away a person's choice. And I don't like that. And so I never, not that I would tolerate, but, one thing I couldn't stand about a cheater, and I know this is going left, but, as far as my conversation, I couldn't stand about a cheater was that you take away the person's choice. So if you want to see somebody else, let me know so I can make the choice of, I want to tolerate that or not. And so I feel like if you don't give all the information and allow both sides to voice their information, because, we have a lot of just one-sided stuff going on. But what I really want to talk to you about is the work you're doing with CASA.
Perfect. So I am a CASA volunteer. For those of you that don't know what that is, CASA is a nationwide organization. It's court-appointed special advocates. So what you do in CASA is you basically get assigned to a case and you get to help a child primarily become reunified with their family members. And we offer parents the path to be able to gain their child back, or if sometimes parents don't follow that path, we have to find them normalcy and permanency. So CASAs are individuals who are appointed by a judge. You don't have to have any experience other than having the willingness to learn. You go through a training. After you go through the training, you get sworn in by a judge and you get to act on the behalf for that child. So you get to go to home studies where you make sure that their family members, are going to be able to care for them properly. You're able to go to court for them and speak on how they are, whether you've been visiting the placement they're in, whether that be a foster family, an ROTC, or something of that nature. And CASA, is great for people who want to help make sure a child gets their best outcome. Most people have the misconception that you cannot make a difference in the life of a child, but you truly can. Whether that be fostering, you can either foster to adopt. There's also something called respite, RESPITE, care, where you basically just foster on the weekends. So for other foster parents who are fostering, for example, they have to go on vacation or something, or they were going to visit a family member that's sick or something, and they can't take the children with them because it's out of the jurisdiction of where the case is, then, you could assign to be a respite care to where you take care of them for that weekend. Texas CPS has a mentoring program to where you can be a mentor for some of these kids. You can help pay fees for birth certificates and other documentation, but, CASA, there's a lot of options out there for people wanting to help children in the foster care system.
Is that like Big Brothers and Sisters, like the mentor part? Is that even still in existence?
I don't know if Big Brothers and Sisters is or not, but I know there's a couple of organizations that do sort of work like that. But I know CPS has a program sort of like that where you can become a mentor to someone that's either social economically disadvantaged or doesn't have parental figures in the home, because that really affects the development of a child.
Okay. So you become a mentor. So the respite. Okay, I get the respite. The respite is like you're going to go give somebody else a break for the weekend. Mm-hmm. And so you're taking the children into your home, or are you going to a center to their house, or?
You can take them into your home. So you have to get licensed to be a respite care worker. So for example, if like you're an empty nester or you have a child or something, and that you have the heart and the willingness and the resources to take care of another child, this would be more for those people that can't commit to a year of fostering or something like that, because you either foster for like a commitment of a year, or you can foster to adopt, which is for eternity, obviously, because you're adopting. And then there's also the minimal of that, which is the respite care. So you can become licensed to be a respite care worker. You can learn more on the state of Texas's CPS, the Department of Family and Protective Services. They have different tabs you can go under. And CASA is not part of the foster care. It's like a third-party organization that works towards the well-being of a child. So we get to kind of, not only do we go to court for the child, but we get to talk to the attorneys, their psychologists, their teachers, their CPS workers. So we get to take all the information and help come up with an inference based upon all the objective evidence we get. Because what happens oftentimes is that each department has their own agenda, and so sometimes a child may be subject to that. I mean, of course, everybody tries to be as transparent and as perfectly bureaucratic as they can, but things happen. There's a lot of kids in care. There's over 27,797 children in foster care just in Texas, I believe.
Wow.
And so there's like a lot of kids out there. So, if you don't have the time to be a CASA, which most people think it takes a long time, but it doesn't. I have a roofing company, and I do that. I do politics. I do all these other things. I'm a president of a club, and I still have time to do it because these children need us, guys. Like they really need someone who's going to be their voice. Like you get to talk to them. And the cool thing about being a CASA is that you're not an attorney. You're not any of these other parties. So you get to say how you feel, as long, obviously, as you're professional and you go through training. So they teach you how to present your case, but you're able to be objective and fight for the child's well-being, making sure that they're with family. I mean, sometimes being with family may not be the best case. Sometimes people have psychotic family members who will abuse and neglect them as well. So it would be terrible to place them there. So sometimes we need people who want to be able to foster so we can give them a best chance there. Or even the respite care workers, they can also be in between, like, for some reason, like in East Texas, there's a big meth problem here. So there's a lot of babies that get into the system because their parents are like meth addicts, and they don't follow CPS's plan in order to get their children back, which is typically like go to counseling, do this, do that, register your child in this. Basic things that you as a parent know to do, but these people are so inebriated with drugs or consumed by their toxic relationships or whatever it is to care for the child. And so that's where the danger comes in for these children, is that the safest place aside from the womb should be their parents' arms. But when your parent isn't taking care of you, then if you have the time, just donate a little bit of time. CASA also has a part-time program called Getting Together Safely. And you're able to just go for like 2 to 3 hours on a Saturday to the CPS place, like the office, and you can watch the biological parent with the foster child and watch them interact and make sure that it's a controlled environment. Right. So you're able to see how they would behave with them, and you get to contact everyone in CASA. So I'll reach out to aunts and uncles and ask them, hey, would you be willing to take this person? This child. And that way you're able to gauge too, because some people are like, yes, I would love to. And some people are like, no, it'll be and so then who in the family is for them and who isn't. But that way you're able to say, I did everything I could to get them closer to their family, or I'm doing everything I can to place them into an adoptive parent's home who is going to care for them.
So they actually have a big duty.
It's a pretty big duty, but I'm not a parent myself. I'm 26. I have 2 fur dogs, Brody and Bella, and they're so cute. They're Jack Russells. They're adorable fur children. But I like to make sure that, God in the Bible, he calls us to take care of the orphans and the widows. And so what better organizations than that? I'm part of the Christian Women's Job Corps as well. That's nationwide. So if people want to look into that, they basically help reconcile women to their relationship with Jesus through different classes like finances. They teach them how to write a resume and how to apply for jobs, because these are women who just got out of prison most of the time or jail. So they don't really know how to do these things. They don't have a high school degree. And they also teach them about like healing from abortion or classes like that, to where, it nurtures their spiritual growth, but also their physical growth. So, I just encourage every parent out there to get yourself involved in other organizations, and also get your children involved in organizations. Teach them that it's okay to give back. It shouldn't just be a holiday thing like, oh, we're going to go feed these people on Christmas, whatever. Did you know that the majority of shifts actually get picked up during the holidays? And that may not be a nationwide statistic, but that varies obviously geographically. But people know to volunteer on the holidays, or they should. And so a lot of people sign up for those shifts. But morning shifts are the hardest for people to cover typically throughout the weekday. So if you have some time in the morning to go, and if they're doing that right now, serving food, I would encourage people to go in the morning before they go to work, because these other people are also trying to go out there, find their best chance, get a job, and parenting a child, rearing a child starts in the home. And whenever we don't do our jobs when parents don't do their job as parents, unfortunately, this is when children end up in foster care or CPS. And then that's when they become a criminal case. Because oftentimes what happens with these kids is they didn't have a mom, they didn't have a dad, they didn't have anyone who cared other than their CASA, CPS, and, bureaucrats, other people who are supposed to be there for them. And so they don't feel like they belong. And so their first reaction is to go do something crazy or stupid. But if you could be there to mentor them and let them know there's life after CPS, there's life after these hardships that you're going through, you just really need to, focus, it's for like every human, make yourself a list of goals. How am I going to get there? How am I going to accomplish it? And what steps can I take to get there? And that needs to be for everyone across the board, whether they're, a toddler all the way up to 100. People should know the way to behave in society and how to treat others with love, respect, kindness, and professionalism. Nowadays, we're seeing such a decline in young adults being professional, and we really need to teach our kids, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir, being professional, being respectful, and learning to work without complaining.
And so right now, that's an issue. And so we have adults right now ready to fight people, and so out in public. So how do we expect our kids to know better? We're at a pivot point right now in our nation right here, to where all parents should just take a halt and take a look at what am I teaching my kids? What are they learning from, 1, TV, 2, social media, 3, out there in the world? Because we are called to be better. We are called to make a stand. We are called to be an example. And so I'm not a perfect parent, but when I had my first 2 kids, I had to take a step back and say, hey, I can see I was a single mom, and, I had 2 kids out of wedlock, and this is all pre-Jesus. But I had to look and say, you know what, if I don't do something with myself, I'm going to be seeing these 2 in prison or on the streets. And it wasn't easy, but I had to fix myself. And there was nothing wrong with that. The knowing that I had to do something to fix myself, to make sure that those 2 didn't come out. And then, eventually I had 4. And so, I'm obviously a different parent than I was with the first 2 in the beginning. But even now, I've had to, COVID was the best thing that ever happened to me. 1, got rid of couple of bad habits, but the sleep eating has gotten worse. And so I sleep eat, get up and eat in the middle of the night. And so, but that I reevaluated some things. I got rid of cable. I got rid of Netflix because it was just showing either just straight porn to my kids, or just junk. And I mean, not just them putting junk in, me putting junk in too. I had to stop getting the junk, even though some of it was like snuck up on me junk, but I couldn't have that. And so knowing that my kids are around the corner watching something so inappropriate, and I put those little block filters, they would just go to my account and watch. And so I mean, so there was some things that I had to make some decisions during COVID. I got rid of a lot of, I thought I was going to die from not having TV. And so, but I did, I'm still alive.
But isn't that what junk is in a way? It's so sweet and so appealing, and you're just like, oh, I'll just have a little nibble, and then all of a sudden you're in a sugar rush coma in your bed, and you're just like, why did I eat all this canned meat? Why did I eat all this sugar? But that's what happens in life is we allow all the bads, all the junk to creep in, and by the time we notice, it's done such a detrimental effect. Alveda King stated earlier, she said to be careful what you put in your eyes and in your ears. And even the Bible says that. It says to be careful where you're feeding your spirit, what you're feeding your soul. And I think that is so important. I think, I applaud you and commend you because now as an adult, as 26, I'm like, ooh, I'm going to watch this movie I used to watch when I was little. Okay, it's on, like you said, Netflix. It's on HBO. It's on Hulu. I'm going to watch it. And then you watch it, you're like, oh, ay, Dios mío. No wonder my mom would get mad at me. No wonder she was all like, yeah, what are you watching? When I was little. And I was like, why is my mom tripping, man? Like, it's not even that bad, bro. And then all of a sudden you see it and you're like, now you're 26 years old. You're like, oh, Lord Almighty, please. My soul, Jesus. Now I understand why little Linda was freaking out. Now I know why she was yelling and hollering and hooping and being like, why are you watching this? It's gonna corrupt your soul. And I used to think, old people, right? That's what you think when you're young. Old people. Mm-hmm. But in reality, it's not that people, it's like what God says here. I have this verse. It's the vine and the branches. So, it's where God is talking about how he's the vine and we are the vine and he's the true branches. It's in John 15. It says, I am the true vine, and my Father is the gardener. He cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit, while every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes as in cutting off, getting rid of, so that it will be even more fruitful. You already clean because of the word I have spoken to you. Remain in me as I also remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself. It must remain in the vine. Neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. If you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. If you do not remain in me, you're like a branch that is thrown away and withers. Such branches are picked up, thrown into the fire, and burned. If you remain in me and my words remain in you, ask whatever you wish, and it will be done for you. This is to my Father's glory that you bear much fruit, showing yourselves to be my disciples. As the Father has loved me, so I have loved you. Now remain in my love. And it goes on and on, other passages.
I just felt that. I didn't know Michelle preached too. She preached, y'all. She preached.
We forget that God is, if God the Father prunes us, and I have 100 other verses I'm not going to bore you guys with, but you should look them up. 1 Peter 4:10. Proverbs 13:24, Hebrews 12:11, Proverbs 23:13 through 15. I mean, there is verse on verse on verse that Jesus is like, parents, discipline your children so that they will know the way that they should go on to. It says, if not, it says that he who does not like reproach is like a fool, right? Mm-hmm. And that happens to our children. If we do not have children and we don't discipline them, they're going to go wreaking havoc on everybody else. No, we have to teach them to be upstanding citizens in society, to follow instruction when it's wholesome and wholehearted. Obviously, question things. Be a human. Question things. Even question authority if that means that it's for righteousness' sake.
Right.
If it's not, don't be acting a fool. Like my dad used to say, solo porque puedes, no lo hagas. Just because you can do it doesn't mean you should.
Right. And so the Bible even says, be angry, be mad as heck, but don't sin.
Do it righteously. Mm-hmm.
Yes, don't sin. Be angry because you even had Jesus overturning tables and stuff, and as they made the house of the Lord, a den of thieves, and so he was upset and overturned some tables, and made a whip and whipped them out of the. And so I guess with that, maybe sometimes you do, but there's some things shouldn't be done. Some things shouldn't be done. What we've been seeing lately goes past in the streets, goes past. It's not. I don't know how you could say that it's protesting when you're burning down and you're harming others, and
Teach
it's
your kids to love and teach them to get involved. And, speaking of being involved, I have to jump off soon because I'm about to go volunteer at the Hardison's Market, which gives back to women living in poverty. So all of you should volunteer. Fill your time with it. Fill your time with good stuff. And Tyra, thank you so much for everything you do. You are a boss queen. You are amazing. You are intelligent. God has appointed leaders before time started. You are definitely one of those. Continue to do your good work. Don't get off the good path just because other people discourage you. Keep on going. Keep on fighting. Preach the good message. Be prepared. And more importantly, work as if unto the Lord, because he will keep adding unto you, because you will bless others. And to every parent listening out there, rear your children in love. Rear them. In Spanish, it was the chancla, but with love. I'm just kidding. You know what I mean? Love your children. Don't beat them. Don't abuse them, but for sure prune them.
Yes.
And thank you all, and I hope you'll have a great night. Love you.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. I love you, girl. And we'll have her back soon. She has to go. And so she's going to go do some volunteer work. And so thank you, sweetheart. Okay, so now it's just me and y'all. So what are we going to talk about? Hey, Sherry, are you still out there? I didn't get to say hi to you. I was too enamored by having the evangelist, Dr. Alveda King, on the show. And what an amazing woman. And Michelle as well, Gamboa, is an amazing woman. And so I have 13 minutes with you. And so we could talk about the elephant, not in the room, but on the streets. So what is going on with all this election fraud stuff? From what I understand, there's been affidavit after affidavit after evidence of voter fraud and voter suppression and things that should not be done. And so, it is what it is. I heard somebody in the media say yesterday that people should just suck it up. But 3 years ago, when they lied about Russia collusion, nobody wasn't told to suck it up, went along with it, investigated. So I just think that everything should be investigated. Sorry, I was taking a drink of my cherry limeade from Sonic. So I'm really shocked. I'm very shocked about all these allegations that more people voted than lived in cities or something like that. And so what can you do? What can you do but investigate? I, for one, made sure that, I'd sent out emails, and I'm going to continue to bother my politicians and the people in my area to investigate, because, things that might have gone on that are just not lawful in elections, because they did it 4 years ago when the allegations were coming. Now that they're actually investigating all this, the investigators of the Russia collusion. And now we're coming to find out that all the allegations of the Russia collusion, which this probably should have came out about 6 months ago, but of course, again, that was suppressed. And I'm pretty sure that this, what I'm talking about right now, will probably be suppressed since we are live on Periscope and Facebook and YouTube, because they've done what they can to suppress knowledge about everything. It's crazy, though, in the world, in the time that we're living in, to where media can decide what you should know and what you shouldn't know, even though they think that you shouldn't know, is really taking away your choice. And I believe that the American people has the right to know everything, not just so a certain brand of people can have power and do with it what they will. And so there it goes. I got that out. And so I've been holding that in all day because I cannot talk about these things during the day because I live a professional life. It is what it is. And so we have politicians calling for people to be punished right now, to be punished for having a belief, to be punished for having morals and wanting people to have morals. Actually, to be punished for embracing our First Amendment, our freedom of speech, our freedom of thought, our freedom of religion. They want us to be punished. They're saying that we shouldn't get jobs, that we should be blacklisted. Where is that even America? How is that American? How is that American that somebody should be punished for having a belief set? And the funny thing is that not once, not in my United States, in this era that I've lived in, have we ever said that we should punish others for having a belief set. We allow people to have their beliefs, but we never, have never said we should not give them jobs because they supported a certain person. Y'all, there's something evil about that. If it stinks, you probably better look to make sure there's not a dead fish in the back of your car. Come on, it stinks. So what do you do? So something's stinking. You have a right. You need to call your politicians, and a lot of them, sometimes they call you back. I know mine here in Texas, they call back. Somebody does. It may not be that politician, but somebody from that office calls back. You need to leave messages. You need to tell them that they need to investigate. They need to get to the bottom of this. And don't listen to media telling you what to think. Have you not noticed that they've told you what to think for almost 20 years, who to vote for, who you should vote for, and how they would shut off the bad stuff and only let you, they shut off the bad stuff to one politician, and it was only bad stuff for the other politician? Come on, you've seen the trend. You've seen the trend. Okay, here's an example. Remember when Hillary and Obama were running against each other, or they were, opposing? Remember how wonderful Obama was and how evil they made Hillary look? And how, ugly Hillary was to Obama? Then the media made Hillary look crazy. Obama looked beautiful. So on, so on. The media told you what to think. Come on, y'all, wake up. Wake up before before it becomes law that you're not allowed to think for yourself. Don't allow that right to be taken away from others. Don't do that. Don't do that, because that's not the America Why do people flock to be here? Because of the freedoms that we have. And if you take away those freedoms, we will have no better than a third world country here in America. Don't let people depend. There are countries that are watching us right now act a fool over, over things. These are important things, the way they told you that it started. But people are just waiting for the right opportune moment to take advantage of situations. And so, but you got to open your eyes. You got to see. So really, this person that they're making out to be so, that just, had a hand in turning around our economy and doing all these great things, but yet you don't hear nothing good about it. That the person, not one thing good. You can't say anything that this person, come on, wake up, wake up, wake up. And so all I wanted was just a fair election. That's all I wanted. Fair. Just fair. And whoever won, and that's what anybody, I think, a lot of people, even on opposing sides, they just wanted fair. Whoever wins, yeah, we can get mad for a little bit, but it was fair. The people spoke. But when you start try to steal the election, but you've been doing this for 4 years, called good people liars and accusations against them. And when the accusation was something you really did, you said the other person did it. See, now I'm rambling. I was trying not to get irritated. We have 4 more minutes left to the show. If y'all have any comments, go ahead and put them in the chat, and that way I can introduce you on the live. But y'all, call your politicians. Trust me, you really want a fair election. You really do. You don't want things stolen. Not just that, you don't want our system getting tainted and dirty. I mean, we are the one place where you could come and have democracy. You start stealing elections, that's gone. It's gone. And if we don't put it into it now, we can never, ever have another good one. They have to nip this in the bud. They have to. Because our children and our children's children deserve for it to be nipped in the bud now. And so I'm done talking to you. It's been a great Tuesday. We had a great show with Dr. Alveda King, Michelle Gamboa, Thank you for tuning in. Please share it out. Hey, Christy, I'm getting ready to get off the air, but thank you for joining us. And so share this out. This was a good show. And, I got to meet a hero today, and you got to meet a hero. Share it out so other people can, if not anything, just for the commentary at the end about, holding people accountable for what they're doing and making sure that America stays free and that things are fair. Not everything can be fair, and favor is not always fair, but in our election system, we want it to be fair. We want the voice of the people to be heard. We don't need it tainted. It needs to be nipped in the bud so we can know who won, so we can move forward. Regardless, each way we need to heal and we need to move forward, right? And so that's all I got for you today. I love y'all. I will see you next Tuesday here. I do have a great show for you planned, and I'll let you know later once I get confirmation. We have some wonderful guests coming up. All right, next Tuesday. Bye, y'all.
Thank you you for tuning in to the Parenting Connections radio broadcast with Dr. Tyra Hodge. We hope something was said to enlighten and strengthen you and your family. If you have questions, you may reach Parenting Connections via email at info@parentingconnections.net. Join Dr. Tyra Hodge next week for another powerful broadcast.